Jordan, can you press continue for me, babe? Thank you. All right, determinants. So determinants, it's actually a fairly easy process that involves just basic computation. Okay. So determinant of a matrix, what is it? The determinant is a special number. That means you're getting one number at the end of what you're doing. Okay. That can be calculated from a square matrix. What is a square matrix? It means that it's a 2 by 2, a 3 by 3, or a 4 by 4, or et cetera, et cetera. Make sense? Okay. The symbol for determinant is two vertical lines on either side. So if you're looking for the determinant of A, it either can be written like so, or it could be written like this. Kind of looks like absolute value bars, right? Okay. So that's how you know you're looking for the determinant or trying to seek the determinant. There's really not much to write here. It's just kind of an overview of what it is. All right. Now, again, if you can't see or you feel like you need a little more, you do have the notes available to you on Canvas. Determinant of a 2 by 2. So determinant of a 2 by 2 is fairly simple. Do you guys remember how to solve a proportion? Do you remember? And yeah, do you guys remember how to solve a proportion? So if you remember, if you had 1 over 2 equals x over 4. Y'all remember this guy? And what did you learn to do here? You cross multiply and divide, right? Similar concept when finding the determinant, except you're cross multiplying and subtracting. So we cross multiply and we subtract, and that number produces the determinant of a 2 by 2. Sounds easy enough? So how do we find the determinant of a 2 by 2? Cross multiply and subtract. That's all you need to know to do. Cross multiply and subtract. This is for a 2 by 2. All right. Are we ready to cross multiply and subtract? So for example, if we have matrix B equals 4, 6, 3, 8, and we want to find the determinant of B, what are we going to do? 4 times 8. And then 6 times 3. And we get 32 minus 18, which equals 14. You found the determinant of matrix B. How do we feel? Is more to it or is just like this is just for 2 by 2s. So for 2 by 2, this is it. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple to do on your own. So here's your first one. I'll give you about 30 seconds to do it. All right. So matrix C, what is the determinant? All right, so when you cross multiply, you should have gotten 8 times negative 3 minus 15 times 7. That gave you negative 24 minus 105, and that equaled negative 129. Cool? All right, one more. Now, this one is to show you the format. So if it comes just like this, notice how there aren't any brackets but bars. This is automatically asking you, what is the determinant? Okay, it doesn't need any words. It doesn't need anything else. If it's just the bars and the matrix values on the inside, that automatically means you go into solving. So cross product minus cross product. A negative times a negative is a, and that leads me to, all right, How do you feel about 2 by 2s? Easy breezy, lemon squeezy, right? All right. Now, determinant of a 3 by 3, okay? Determinant of a 3 by 3, there are 2 methods that you get to choose from. I do not care which method you do. My job is just to teach you the methods and then let you fly off and do it on your own. Got it? So the first method number 1, don't write the steps down. Come back to them, but don't write them. I'm just going to read them to you. Method number 1, we're going to label the columns plus, minus, plus. And this is so that you know when to add and subtract. Okay, that's what the plus, minus, plus is for. Okay, then we're going to cover row 1 and column 1 to create a 2 by 2. Then we find the determinants of that and multiply it by the element in row 1, column 1. Then we're going to step 3. We're going to cover row 1 and column 2 to create a 2 by 2. Find the determinant of that and multiply it by the element in row 1 and 2 in column 2 and subtract it from the product in step 2. And then lastly, we cover row 1 and column 3 to create a 2 by 2. Find the determinant of that and multiply it by the element in row 1, column 3, and add it to the difference in step 3. That value is your determinant. Okay? Sounds like a lot, right? But it's not. This is what it looks like. So, yeah. All right. So, it said you'll have your plus, your minus, your plus. It just lets you know when you're adding and when you are subtracting. So, first step, done. Second step is you're going to cover row 1 and column 1. And then you're going to find the determinant of what's left. Do you see that? Okay, that's step 1. Then step 2, you're going to cover row 1 and column 2, create a new 2 by 2, and find the determinant of that. So cross multiply and subtract, right? And then step 3, you're going to cover row 1 and column 3, and you're going to find the cross product of that.
So, but like how we you said it's subtract, add, subtract.
Exactly. So see how A is positive, B is negative, C is positive. So positive, negative, plus. Okay. You will have to see me work it out. So this is what your math will end up looking like. Okay. And your math looks like this because we're cross multiplying and subtracting, cross multiplying and subtracting, cross multiplying and subtracting. So in the end, this is the math that you're going to do to find the determinant. You want to see the full example, I know, but some people need to write this part down, so I'm going to wait. All right, so it wants us to find the determinant. Step 1, we just label to know when we're adding, when we're subtracting. Does that make sense? It's the whole purpose of that is just so you know when you're adding and subtracting. Okay. Step 2, this is where you're covering row 1, column 2. So you're going to take the value. So I'm not using these. So if I'm finding the determinant, I have cross multiply. Will you see that? So we have -2 times 6 minus -1 times 2. And you're going to take this and multiply by the value that's there. So whatever you get times 2. Okay, so we have 2 times -12 plus 2 equals 2 times -10, which equals -20. So that's step 2. Questions about step 2? Okay. So now we're going to step 3. And this time, you are covering row 1, column 2. So what values are you using for your cross multiplication? Perfect. So I have 4 times 6 minus -1 times -5, and then times the value that's in row 1, column 2, which is 1. So 1 times 24 minus 5 equals 19. So this leads to -20 minus 19 equals -39. Because it says you take the value from there and subtract it from here. Or you can wait until the end. All right. And then crossing out or covering. So step 4, I have 4 times 2 minus -2 times -5 times the value in row 1, column 3. That gives me 3 times 8 minus 10, which equals 3 times -2, which equals -6. And it says add that to what you got in step 3. So -39 plus -6 equals -45. And that's your determinant. All right, method number 2. Okay, so method number 2 is we're going to turn the matrix into a 3x5. How do we do that? You're going to copy columns 1 and 2 onto the end. Then you multiply the values along the diagonals, starting from the left top to bottom, and add them together. Then you multiply the values along the diagonals, starting from the right top to bottom, and you're going to add them together as well. Forgot some words in there. Add them together. To find the determinant, you're going to take the sum from step 2 and subtract the sum from step 3, and that's your determinant. Okay, so let's put this into effect. So here's our example. So step 1 is to turn it into a 3x5. So you're going to take the values that are in column 1 and in column 2 and rewrite them. -1, 1, 0, -1, -1, -2. Take the values in column 1 and the values in column 2 and add them on because you're turning it into a 3x5. So now you have a 3x5 matrix. Okay. Step 2, you're going to multiply along the diagonals, starting from the left, working your way to the bottom. So 1, 2, 3. You're going to multiply the numbers in the diagonals and add them together. It must have 3 because it's a 3x3. Okay, so I have -1 times -1 times 3 plus -1 times -2 times 0 plus 5 times 1 times -2. And then I multiply. -1 times -1 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. -1 times -2 times 0 is 0. 5 times 1 times -2 is -10. This gives me -7. Do you see what we did here? Okay. Then step 3 is you're going to start from the right and multiply along the diagonals from the right. So I have -1. So those are gonna be the values that I multiply and add. Because addition and multiplication are commutative, it does not matter whether how you write them out. So I have 0 times -1 times 5 plus -2 times -2 times -1 plus 3 times 1 times -1. 0 times -1 times 5 is 0. -2 times -2 is +4 times -1 is -4. 3 times 1 is 3 times -1 is -3 equals -7. Step 4, to find the determinant, you take the value from -7, from step 2, and subtract the value from step 3. So -7 minus -7 equals -7 plus 7, which equals 0. That is method number 2. So you have 2 choices to choose from. Whichever one makes the most sense for you, whichever one visually is appealing to you, it is up to you.
So how did you do that?
You take the value you got from step 2 and subtract the value from step 3 from it.
So you don't have to write all that. It's really easy to type right there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so method 1 or method 2, both are 4 steps, both are totally doable, both just involve adding and multiplying. Agreed? Okay, so choose your poison. So we're gonna do, I guess I'll do method number 1 really quick. And then I'll do method number 2. So method number 1, you're starting with -1. So you have -1 times, and then pretend that it's blocked out. And that'll be 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. Plus, then minus. Then my next number is 4. If I block out row 1, column 2, that gives me 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times -1 is -2. And then plus 5. And block it all out. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times -1 is -1. And so the determinant equals -1 times 2 minus 4 times 10 plus 5 times 3 equals -2 minus 40 plus 15 equals -42 plus 15 equals -27. Okay? So that's if you did method number 1. If you did method number 2, so you're, oh, whoa, pen did weird things. Oh, stop. I don't know why I did that. That's weird. All right, method number 2, you added columns 1 and 2 onto the end. And then you multiply along the diagonals. So you have 1 times 4, and that gives you what? 4 plus 4 times 2 times -1, that gives you -8 plus 5 times 2 times 1 gives you 10. And that equals -2. Then going the other way, 4 times 2 times 4 is 32. -1 times 2 times 1 is -2. And 5 times 1 is 5 times -1 is -5. And that gives you 25. And so the determinant of C equals -2 minus 25 equals -27. Okay, guys? All right, so whichever method you chose, does it matter? No, because they both lead you to the same answer. All right, and that concludes determinants 3 by 3. You do have practice exit ticket problems assigned. They are not for a grade, they are purely practice. Tomorrow is a full classwork day, and those problems are for a grade.
Is it the same thing as today?
Mhm.